The desire to control life is deeply rooted in the human mind. From the moment we begin to think, we are taught to plan, to predict, to manage every outcome. We believe that if we just think hard enough, work long enough, or prepare thoroughly enough, we can make life obey our will. Yet the more we try to control, the more restless we become. Life refuses to fit into our structure because it was never meant to. The truth is, control is an illusion. A comforting story we tell ourselves to avoid facing the vast uncertainty of existence. The river of life does not move because we push it. It moves because movement is its nature. The mind wants to believe it is the master of this flow, but in reality, it is only a wave within it. When you truly observe, you begin to see that life has always been happening on its own. The heart beats without your command. The breath flows without your effort. The stars move across the sky without your permission. Everything that matters most occurs effortlessly. The struggle begins when the mind interferes, insisting it knows what should happen next. But the more it insists, the more it resists. Control is simply resistance disguised as responsibility. It creates anxiety because you're trying to grasp what was never yours to hold. Surrender does not mean giving up. It means recognizing that you are not separate from life. You are life. When the wave stops trying to control the ocean, it begins to move with grace. You notice that the right people, opportunities, and experiences come not by force, but by alignment. The illusion of control fades, replaced by trust. And that trust brings peace. Not the peace of having everything figured out, but the peace of knowing that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. The most dangerous lesson is realizing you never had control to begin with, yet that realization sets you free. The image you hold of yourself is not who you truly are. From childhood, you have been told stories about your identity, your name, your roles, your strengths, your flaws. Over time, you began to believe that this collection of labels defines you. You built an image, a persona, and then spent years defending it as if your life depended on it. But deep within, there is a quiet knowing that the you show to the world is only a mask. It is not false, but it is not complete. It is the surface of something much vaster, much more mysterious. This idea of I is fragile because it depends on constant validation. When people approve of you, you feel real. When they criticize you, you feel threatened. You try to fix, improve, and protect this image, not realizing that the one doing all the protecting is also part of the illusion. Beneath the mask, there is no fixed personality, no permanent self, only awareness witnessing it all. It is like watching a movie and mistaking yourself for the actor on the screen. The actor changes roles, faces, and emotions, yet the screen remains untouched. That stillness within you, that silent observer, is what you truly are. When you begin to see this clearly, an incredible lightness arises. You stop taking the drama of your identity so seriously. You can laugh at your own fears, your ambitions, your failures, because you understand they are only waves in the vast ocean of consciousness. The mind will resist this truth because it survives through attachment to identity. But when you gently look beyond the thoughts, beyond the roles, beyond the endless story of me, you realize that awareness has no boundaries. You were never the mask. You were the space in which the mask appeared. And that realization, though dangerous to the ego, is the beginning of true freedom, the freedom of simply being without needing to be someone. Everything you hold onto in life is destined to change, no matter how tightly you cling. The people you love, the successes you achieve, the moments you treasure, all will eventually slip through your fingers. This is the nature of existence. Nothing stays, nothing lasts. At first, this truth feels cruel, even unbearable. The mind rebels against it, seeking security in a world that offers none. It builds walls of attachment, possessions, relationships, and identities, believing that holding on will protect it from loss. But the tighter you grip, the more life escapes you, because life is movement, not permanence. Impermanence is often misunderstood as something to fear, yet it is the very force that makes beauty possible. Imagine if nothing ever changed. There would be no growth, no renewal, no wonder. The sunset moves you precisely because it fades. The flower captivates you because it wilts. Every moment becomes sacred when you know it will never come again. When you stop fighting impermanence, you begin to see that endings are not failures. They are part of the rhythm that makes existence alive. Letting go does not mean indifference. It means loving fully without possession. When you understand that everything is temporary, you start to love with purity, without demand, without fear. You no longer cling to people to fill your emptiness or to achievements to prove your worth. You love because love itself is your nature. You give because giving feels like breathing. And when something leaves your life, you bow to it with gratitude, knowing it fulfilled its purpose. This realization transforms grief into grace. You no longer chase permanence in an impermanent world. Instead, you move in harmony with change, embracing it as the essence of life. Impermanence does not take life away from you. It gives it meaning. For only what passes can ever truly be cherished. Suffering is something most people try to avoid at all costs. We distract ourselves, deny our feelings, or run from the discomfort that pain brings. Yet, no matter how far we go, it always finds us again, sometimes in new forms, sometimes disguised as anger, loneliness, or fear. The truth is, suffering is not a punishment or a curse. It is a mirror. It reflects back everything within us that we have refused to face. The pain you feel is not here to destroy you. It is here to reveal you. It shows you the parts of yourself that are still bound by illusion, still caught in resistance, still afraid to surrender to life as it is. When you stop fighting your suffering and begin to observe it, something extraordinary happens. The moment you bring awareness to your pain, you create space between what hurts and the one who witnesses it. That space is transformation. The pain does not vanish immediately, but it begins to lose its power over you. You realize that the suffering itself was never the real problem. It was your resistance to it. The more you resist, the more it persists. But when you meet it with compassion, when you allow yourself to feel it without judgment, it begins to soften. Suffering is the fire that burns away everything false. It humbles the ego, strips away pretense, and forces you to look inward. Through pain, you learn patience, empathy, and depth. You begin to understand others more deeply because you've walked through the same darkness. What once felt like punishment becomes purification. You no longer ask, "Why is this happening to me?" but rather, "What is this trying to teach me?" When you embrace suffering as a teacher instead of an enemy, it loses its sting. It becomes a guide that leads you closer to truth. Every wound opens a doorway to greater awareness. Every heartbreak carves out more space for love. And in that surrender, you discover that even suffering, in its raw and painful beauty, was working for your awakening all along. Human beings have an endless craving to find meaning. We search for it in religion, success, love, and even suffering. We want to know why we exist, what our purpose is, and how to make life make sense. But the more we chase meaning, the more it escapes us. Life was never a riddle to be solved. It was a mystery to be experienced. The mind wants to define everything because definitions give it a sense of control. Yet, the moment you define life, you limit it. You reduce the infinite to something small enough for thought to grasp, and in doing so, you lose the wonder that makes existence alive. The beauty of life lies in its uncertainty. Meaning is not a destination waiting to be found at the end of some spiritual road. It arises only when you are fully present in the unfolding of each moment. When you stop asking life to explain itself, it begins to sing. You notice the stillness between your breaths, the quiet rhythm of existence, the simplicity of being aware. In that awareness, you find a peace that no philosophy can offer. Life reveals its essence not through explanations, but through direct experience. Through the taste of rain, the laughter of a friend, the silence of night. When you stop searching for meaning, you begin to live meaningfully. You act not, because life has given you a grand purpose, but because action itself is a natural expression of being alive. You realize that the question of purpose was never meant to be answered. It was meant to dissolve. The dancer does not dance to reach a destination. The dance is the destination. The bird sings because singing is its nature. Likewise, life does not need meaning to be beautiful. It is already complete. When you allow yourself to simply exist without needing to understand, you discover the quiet joy that has always been here, the joy of being itself.